All right, welcome to another DFW Running Talk. I'm Chris Detzel, and today we have our special guest, Cal Nef. Cal, how are you?
Hey, good afternoon. Thanks for having me on. Just digging out of the Texas snowstorm.
Yeah, I heard about that. You're in Houston, right?
Yeah, I'm just on the outside, the west side of Houston, and the whole Gulf area. I just assumed it was coming from the north. Did you have any snow up in the DFW area?
No, but it's cold as hell. Like it was
Yeah,
22, 24 degrees. But yeah, you guys get tons of snow, which
yeah,
is rare for Houston area.
yeah. So just amazing coming off like Houston's busiest weekend of running is the Houston Marathon. We're just coming out of that, and it's just amazing that 24 hours earlier it would have been too warm. 24 hours later it would have been canceled.
You know
Snow
what?
and ice.
Yeah, and by the way, you ran a great race in Houston this last Sunday, so congratulations.
Thanks. Thanks. Yeah, that was Chevron Marathon number 7 for the full, and I've done 3.5 marathons there for the Aramco
Yeah.
and paced quite a few of those. I think that was my probably fourth time just as an official pacer, but always out there racing myself
Were
on
you?
top of it.
So Sunday you were actually officially pacing. You aren't racing necessarily.
Yeah, I guess that's the last 3 times I've run Houston now. They've asked me ahead of time. Either an individual specific athlete will request a certain time, or in this case, the race itself needed to fill the Olympic A standard, which people are trying to get to the World Athletic Championships in August in Tokyo. So
Okay.
for the women, it's 2:23:30. They just had a group going out at that time.
And that's your pace, 2:23.
That was my job. Yeah, get them through halfway in about 1:11:30. We came through in just under 1 hour and 11 minutes for the half. So setting
Yeah.
them up perfect for a little bit harder of a rougher back half of Houston this year with the wind that we had.
Yeah. Did you find that because it was windy and cold was a little harder than usual or?
I definitely had my work cut out for me this year. Sometimes it's a little bit calmer and it's just a matter of running the right tangent lines, running the shortest course, getting the athlete lined up for their drinks ahead of time, and just staying on pace. So usually it's pretty metronomic, but this time it was like get big ahead of the pack and try to take as much of the wind. Pacing is like honestly almost like the opposite of everything you want to do. Everything you've learned, everything coach wants you to do,
That's right.
it's do the opposite.
Yeah, I've not paced at the level that you have, but certainly I've paced several half marathons and done one or so marathons in the past. It's a little different. Now, you've paced like Sarah Hall and some others in the past, right?
Yeah, Sarah Hall was one of the first like more notable ones that I had paced, and then Keira paced a
Yeah.
couple times, and we had really good luck. We were both with Sarah and Keira were chasing that old American record, and finally with Keira at Houston 3 years ago, we were able to
Yeah.
get that at 2:19 low. So it was
I
a
saw you. I
magical
saw
day.
you guys going through. I ran the half, and then we started watching all the full marathon folks go through. And I was like, "Oh my god!" My wife was like jumping up and down. So yeah, great job. It's gonna be
Hey,
fun.
thanks. But I've enjoyed my time racing up your way as well. DFW has some great areas racing, especially on the road, and surprisingly, it's hard to find road 50Ks. And that's got to
We've
be
got
just
two of
like
them.
my favorite niche kind of race distance and terrain. So yeah, I've won both the Cowtown 50 and the Dallas 50K now.
I know. I've seen that, and it's funny because back in October you ran a race and it's reading. What is that race in DC or something?
Yeah, the Marine Corps.
Yeah, didn't you win it again? And I was listening to there's a podcast or reading something that you weren't feeling well that day. You were in second place for a while, and then you were also videoing it. Oh, and I was like, he's videoing this, and he wins,
Yeah, that was
and he
the
wasn't
year
feeling good.
prior.
Okay,
Yeah, the year prior, I just took my little camera along for the ride and had fun with it. And
yeah,
this year it just didn't feel as smooth, but it was able to still knock it out.
yeah. It's something else. We'll get to your journey here in a minute, but I'm just very interested in some of these things. And something else that I read is you had one of your kids in a stroller, and was this in Canada? And then you won the stroller race, so like you get the world record. Is that right?
Yeah, been a bit of a claim to fame. Almost haunts me to these days now. My girls are all 3 of them are old enough to run with me now, so that's pretty cool to see. But yeah, and I guess it was the 2015 or so. I started doing some 5Ks just locally, or I was training with them. So I have 3 girls and was
Yeah.
training with them in the stroller. Nothing out of the usual, but realized we're clipping off some pretty good miles sometimes, some good workouts.
Yeah.
Jumped in a local 5K. I think we ran 1540 or something. I was sub 16, won the whole thing, and then just got the wheels turning, literally, that what's possible out there. My middle child, Holland, actually joined me for the first kind of big time race we did, and that was the Katy half marathon, and lined up all of the requirements for these Guinness World Records. There's so many like evidence things that you need, USATF qualified course and race director sign off timing. The whole thing was just a lot of hoops to jump through, not in addition to running faster than anybody has ever run with a stroller, which was, they're legitimate records. Like actually, if you look in the Guinness Book of World Records at all the silly marathon records with costumes and juggling and basketballs and all this stuff, I think the stroller one, and I'm not being biased here, but is like the most legitimate. Like it's just straight up running and I'm pushing a kid. There's no like, it's not a circus. But we ran 111 with my little one right before she turned 1. And then had an older child above her, Ali, and we went up to Toronto and ran the Toronto Waterfront Marathon, which is an incredible race. And Ali was actually the first Canadian woman to cross the finish line that day in 2 hours 31. Of course, had the power of me behind her. But and that was like actually Canadian Nationals. So I was 5th that day, and we actually made a little bit of money just from the US or the Canadian Nationals championships.
No way.
And then having the third girl, little Maya, I was like, man, I can't afford the therapy bills if you didn't get me a world record, Daddy.
Oh, yeah.
So we had to line that up pretty quick. And I was supposed to be in Tokyo for the marathon. I was in super good shape. I just got back from an altitude training stint. I was ready to go for my best marathon, and COVID hit like literally that week. So all the international travel started shutting down, but Houston and Texas was just a little bit behind that curve of shutting down. And we had the rodeo run that weekend. And so I jumped in that instead of the marathon, despite not really training for that speed, and was able to run 31:41 with she was, I think, 4 years old at the time. So 5:06 per mile.
So it's a 10K that you were in.
For the 10K, So I ended up with all three, the 10K, the half, and the full marathon records for each one of them.
Are they still older?
The half was broken a couple years ago, just under 111, 20 something, or under 111 maybe. So it's still there. Could maybe get the dust off the stroller again, maybe, and go for it. Yeah.
How old's your youngest? No?
Yeah, we have. So now we have 12, 9, 7, and we have a 3-year-old. So yeah.
We get the 3-year-old. There you go.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, perfect.
Maybe it's still pretty fast. Hey, thank you for all that. It's a really, look, I didn't know, or I wanted to hear those stories. You're obviously a fantastic runner, and you've been doing this for some time. I'd love to hear your story. Like, how did you get started into running? When did you begin in high school, middle school, went to college, etc.?
Yeah, way before that. So I was part of an active family. So my dad was running fun runs, marathons, 10Ks, and mom obviously supported that. And I did just one of those typical kids runs as part of the Cajun Cup in 1988 in Lafayette, Louisiana. We were living over there for a number of years, and I was only 4 years old. And so now I just hit 40 this past August. It's been 36 years of running. And it just came easy to me. It's just something that's been not really a labor to run. Obviously, I do hard workouts, I do hard races and things, but like in general, I'm definitely had some talent there, had some genetics, and enjoyed it.
Obviously.
And was able to just progress through school. We started moving a lot. That was already my second home in Lafayette, from moving from Scotland. And when we moved to England and Thailand and Canada and Australia, it was all these different schools
what the hell did your family do?
I was in. Yeah, my dad was also in the oil field, so it was just constant chasing these jobs around.
Yeah. Okay.
And I came from a loving family. It wasn't like I was shipped off constantly.
Yeah, no, I
was with
them. I have to
clarify that sometimes.
No, it makes sense. But still, you go to all these cool places, but you're still moving around a lot.
Yeah, and it didn't really matter where we ended up. It was always that first few weeks of awkwardness, and then gym class would come around or some kind of sporting event would come around, and I would just break out in stride. And my running was what really shined and defined me. And so it was definitely something that I didn't have to tell people about. It just shone naturally for me, and competed. Even when we were in Australia, I was on varsity. So our school went all the way to 12th grade. And I was, I think, still in middle school competing varsity. And just no matter where we lived, I knew that the NCAA system here in the US was where you wanted to end up. And that's that was just one of my biggest goals. So I was in Canada finishing up high school and running indoor, outdoor track, cross country, and met a coach from Little Rock, Arkansas, actually, and ended up going to school for the first 3 years in Little Rock and running track there. And really great guy and great coach. And he ended up leaving to a different program that I couldn't follow him to. And so I ended up transferring to University of Houston. So I finished up collegiate career, which was okay. It was fine. I ran 4:10 or a little bit faster in the mile indoors, and nothing crazy these days. And I think we had 5 kids at the same school run 3 under 4 minutes just this last weekend. So yeah, the times have changed.
Shoes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Back then, there was none of that.
Yeah, for sure. And it just, I was always focused on my bubble of stuff going on in my conference or city and region and things like that. It would have been really nice. I think social media can be really bad, but at least you have exposure to what else is happening in the world. Like I didn't know that a lot of these guys were out there running as fast as they were, even in my day. We just watched Ryan Hall's half marathon record get beaten this weekend. That was a really old record.
Yeah, 18 years.
Yeah. So there's just things like that I wish I knew about when I was a kid that would have maybe driven me or progressed me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, it's fun to be the best in your school, your class or whatever. That's
How about best in the world?
Yeah, exactly. So I always encourage people just to know what else is out there. But I took a break after college. Definitely running had defined my life for the whole, up until that point. So it was nice to take a little break, but I just started finding naturally, it seemed like before it was even a sport, trail running. I was running on trails. It just back in even not that long ago, it didn't seem like it was its own thing. I know people have been running trails since the dawn of existence, but what we have now is just far different. So I just found my love again of being out in the mountains in Canada before I moved back down to Texas and continue to enjoy that aspect of running. And now it's its own niche sport.
But you have a lot of jobs, it seems, at the moment.
Yeah, wear a lot of hats.
I was doing a little bit of research, and I see that you're a running coach. You own TROT now, and so you're doing some of the trail races there. You're a very active runner still. You still run with, some of the elites or help some of the women elites anyways to get to their times, and you're still winning races. You basically won the Masters. So congratulations on, is that your first Masters to win or no?
Yeah. So I turned 40 in August, which officially for USATF Worlds puts you in that Masters category.
That's right.
And something new to chase. There's records and divisions there. But I guess I won Marine Corps, so that would have been top master there. And then for the marathon, that was my first official marathon as a 40-year-old. So this past Sunday, running 224 with just nipping some of those kids out for the spot for local elite and everything. So I'm still chasing it. I haven't given up even. I feel like this might be delusional, but I feel like I could still challenge my old younger self, and even as fast as the mile, I wouldn't mind cracking back down on the track sometime and seeing what's possible.
I feel like I'm almost 50, so I'm not sure that I can do my best anymore. But I'm still breaking PRs that when I was 40, that I was in my best shape, and I'm still doing. I don't know. You've been doing it for a really long time, and look, when you're 25 years old and things like that, you've got a lot of the talent that you had then. I don't know, it dissipates a little bit, but I think it's still doable potentially.
And just so much more experience is so valuable, especially in the marathon and things. So some of the athletes I coach are well into their 40s, 50s, and still PRing really old personal bests that they've had. So it's exciting to work with people that just really needed a bit different type of guidance or a little bit different stimulus, and then a little bit different tactics on how to approach things. And so some people see me as elite and therefore think I only coach elite or only put on elite races when it comes to trail racing over Texas or my hard loop endurance coaching, but that's just far from the truth. And I branch out. I don't just focus myself on one specific distance of only running low 2-hour marathons. I've chased the 6-hour mark. It was at Comrades, but like for people that are chasing 6 hours on the roads before they shut down at marathons, I know what that's like to be on your feet that long. I've done some pretty long stuff out there, and it definitely takes a different approach, and it can be applied to different training types.
I find your skill set unique because of, hey, you are an elite marathon runner, half marathon runner or whatever, but like you said, you've run 50Ks. You're even, from what I read, got 100K coming up. You said you run comrades. So you own a trail racing company. So
Yeah.
I think that's rare. How did you mentioned you like trail running, but what was the opportunity of, hey, you can be a race driver? What did that look like?
Yeah, I'd always been putting on events, even from college. I had a college side job coaching, and for part of that role was putting on cross-country meets for the youth that I was working with and having inter-school competitions and things. So definitely was starting to already get that experience myself of actually being an event coordinator and helping out at races. I think the volunteerism is such a critical part of especially trail running, and something that's really not being handed down. So I'm always trying to encourage the elders to pass this type of thing down to the youth that just think they can show up and run and go home. There's a lot behind the scenes, and I've been there. I've been a volunteer at many different road and trail races. And I was working full time. I was behind a desk for a long time, and my coaching was building, and it was like almost to a point where I was like, I think I can run and coach and just do that, and that would be great, but it was maybe too risky. And then trail racing over Texas was actually it was about to disappear. And fortunately I had the inside line to that. And I walked away from that conversation hearing that I can't let this die. I can't see this either go to the wrong hands or just disappear, because this community is so strong, and especially a lot of people in the Houston area don't even know we have trails. So the fact that we can expose people to just wilderness and being outside and the alternative of being on the pavement and getting off the road, that was such a key component, and also just fit that final puzzle piece I was missing in my life of how do I do this thing I'm so passionate about? How do I bring all the experiences that I've had the opportunity to have, the comrades and going to world championships and competing in these various events? How can I bring just little pieces of those back here to my local trail races and give that to people around here? And so it all made sense, and it was a great opportunity that I'm so happy that I had the chance to take on. And definitely every single race I put on is another opportunity to learn something.
Yeah.
Never short of feedback in this world, that's for sure, right?
We all have our opinions.
Yeah. It's impossible to make every single person happy, no matter how hard I try. But I think I've grown a lot as a professional and as a person in the last it's been over 2 years now of putting on over 10 events a year and finding a stride. Yeah.
What have you learned? What I'm curious. It's 10 events a year is a lot. To just step in, and I'm sure maybe you went to a few before you started it, but I mean,
that's the thing. I was part of Trail Racing over Texas from the very beginning. Before it was even Trail Racing over Texas, I was at the very first kind of free run that we had here in Memorial Park in Houston, and saw it grow and competed and helped and grew with it as well as an athlete. So always in the mix, and always a lot of these ideas. The Trail Racing over Texas is so unique because we have these fun races and names and themes to the events that bring people in. A lot of those some of those original ideas were just from chats that we were all having. Like Habanero 100 happened because I nearly killed myself on a hot long run in July. And it was like, that'd be a great...
I've run that a few times, and people are crazy and will do the 100-miler or 100K. I've done the 10K a couple times. And I thought to myself, okay, this race is ridiculous. It starts at noon, and you just run whatever the distance is, 5K, 10, 100, whatever it is. And I thought, it's ridiculous. I'm driving 6 hours just to run 10K. Yeah. But I did twice.
That was one I just say, I had to take that race over so that I never have to run it.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though race directing that thing is no joke. You think the runners are out there for the day. So we had 3 days of setup and 3 more days of teardown to go in the same heat. Yeah. After the race is gone. Yeah, that one, for example. And then one that's coming up here shortly is the San Felipe shootout. That was an idea I had. It was just like, hey, wouldn't it be cool to just like pit runners of like different abilities against each other in different events all in the same day. So you can come out and do a 5K, 10K, and a half marathon back to back all in the same day, and then you get a cumulative time, and we'll see who can come out on top.
I like that a lot,
shootout. Yeah, just fun stuff like that, and it's things that I've always been a part of and wanted to see. I do get tired of the standard gun start race to the finish distance. I think that's been done hundreds of times every weekend, right? Thousands of times. It's every single thing that's happening in running world. There's some really cool events out there. Wings for Life World Run, for example, is that like elimination race or we're seeing the really the insurgence of the backyard ultra. People are hungry for different formats and different ways to challenge themselves.
I talked to this woman, her name is, what's her name? Megan.
Yeah,
Smythe.
Meg, yeah.
Yeah.
Or Smythe, yeah, okay.
Yeah, she's here in Dallas. And she ran the backyard. So, I don't know, she won it this last year. She got 175 miles, it took her 40 something, 50 hours, I don't remember. But yeah, it was pretty crazy to hear about that story. So she's going to try to go back and win it this year as well.
Great.
We'll see.
Yeah, and so I guess I'm learning that from race directing is the reasons I race are not the same reasons that you might race or in other people, and what you care about and your experience is completely different from what I'm going there to obtain. Meaning, kind of like I said earlier, I compete on an elite level, and so I'm there for fast times and podiums, and I probably don't care too much about anything else. I probably don't even touch the aid stations too much. I'm bringing my own stuff, and the shirt's going to go to donation, and the medal's going to go in a bin, which that's for most people anyway. But I do learn that the details that people come for are so different, and I really do work hard at learning those, adjusting and building that to suit. So definitely, I'm always like a stickler for rules because that's what I follow. And I believe everyone should just have a even level playing field. But at the same time, the aesthetics of a race, the artwork that goes into it, just how the course runs and the flow. And then of course, I'm very critical. And so anytime, it doesn't even have to be a running event. I could be going to a concert or the grocery store or something that has a flow of public, and looking at that from a completely different perspective and saying, hey, this works really well, or this really agitated me today. Like this could have been done better. And that's the kind of things you start as an event director bringing into it. And then of course, safety is just such a huge component. Fortunately, I come from the oil field myself, and that was just drilled into me. But I have a passion for search and rescue. I'm on Texas Search and Rescue as a volunteer. And yeah, just what I needed, another hat there to have. It's my way of giving back, but also the training that I'm receiving there and the teams that I'm working with, and people really give me experience to handle really high stress, something like Habanero really well. And to be able to work with emergency management for these events is super important.
I think that's key. I mean, I've been at some of those races to where somebody has died. And so what do you do from an emergency standpoint? And how do you take care of the racers that are still doing it, but then also the person that just passed? And then it's rarely happens, but it has. I've seen it.
Yeah. And that's where I don't have a lot of patience when I go to other events that are not prepared. You don't see that they have plans and resources ready for that to happen, because it's really just a matter of time. When you have general population showing up, it's just odds at some point of somebody bringing in some pre-existing condition or having some type of accident along the way. So
how do you look at expansion of the races? Are you thinking about that in the future, or is it 10's enough, that's all I can do, or what does that look like for you?
Yeah, I think, again, keep things fresh. I think people are hungry for different challenges, different places. And I'm always looking at what other things or parks or places, venues are underutilized, or ideas and formats that could be used. And the Backyard Ultra was something that we added just this past. We just ran our second one and went really well, and people really enjoy that format. So it's something that's sticking around. We've added a cross-country meet just to appeal to a little bit different crowd, and something I'm passionate about, and bring in more of the youth. We've added free kids races, which has been a lot of fun. Those are my funnest 30 seconds of racing to watch, because those kids don't touch the ground. So yeah, always looking at that. I think what I've learned, especially when it comes to Habanero, it's like bigger is not always better.
No.
There's a manageable amount of people. And again, that goes straight back to what you can handle from an emergency perspective. Yeah. So I'm always careful to grow it too big, and people don't always want that experience either. I think I've seen from the road side of things, I have a lot of athletes that have been chasing these world majors, the 6-7 star That's now. Right.
Yeah.
And this year they all came back, whether it's Tokyo, London, Chicago, Berlin, with awful experiences. They hated it. It was too many people. Yeah. We're pushing, what did they hit? 50-something thousand people, and they can't handle it. and it's too crowded. You can't run. You're just another number.
Have you ever been, and being an elite athlete, maybe you haven't, but in the pile of that many people, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, no, usually I'm on the front end of that. But
Yeah.
I one year I actually did a fundraiser for the Houston Marathon Foundation, and I was the last person to start. Now the race is a little bit smaller, 20,000, but I passed 11,000 people in 1 hour and 9 minutes of running. But I knew what it was like to be in the corrals and feel that pressure in there.
I'm just saying that with 50,000 or whatever it is, it's can't be a fun experience. Fine if you're an elite race runner, you get to the best, but I just qualify. You're in B, corral, C, or whatever. And to get through some of that is tough for sure.
Yeah, so that's where the trail is just this really nice, unique thing. You come and you set up your tent with 100 of other people setting up their tents, and you hang out and camp all weekend and talk to each other, and you don't get that experience on the roads.
I agree. I think I've done a lot of trail running and also road running, and I do think that both experiences were really great to me, right? I love the road, but I also love the experience of the trail because of the relationships. I remember when I started trail running quite a bit, I joined Dallas Dirt Runners back in the day, and they had some really great people and built really good relationships with a lot of those folks and just taught me the trails. I did a lot of that. But it's like you get this core relationship, but we have these road kind of running things that you still build relationships with people. It's all the same in a way. It's just a different experience in how you do it.
Yeah, just this past weekend, it's just such a great reunion, seeing everybody at the expos, and not only just like the elite and international athletes that I don't get to see too often. It's like big reunion there, but just going to the expo and seeing athletes that they could live in the same city, but I coach a lot online, so we don't always see each other. If we're not showing up to the same group run or something, then that might be my one chance to actually look them in the eye and have good pre-race chat.
We should talk about that. You're coaching. How many clients do you coach?
Yeah, Hard Loop had 50, I think it was right at 50 athletes this past weekend running Houston Marathon. So it's typically one of our busiest weekends other than Boston, which is the other big goal for lots of people. And now I coached a majority of those, but I have other coaches underneath me that help carry the roster. So I've built just a platform to fill in where I'm not as strong. So I have a physical therapist, a nutritionist, dietitian. I have an ultra specific coach. I have a triathlete specific coach, and they can all take these athletes on that I might not either have the right amount of time to give them attention to, or not the right wheelhouse of training. So we share the load, and I've been doing that I started coaching essentially when I was in college, as I mentioned, but always just been an athlete myself that asks like why we were doing a workout, or trying to understand the training a little bit more, being very in tune with what we're doing. And so it just came naturally. I always studied it, always read a lot, always really looked up to coaches more so than athletes sometimes, and really interested in what they're doing. So.
One thing I've read about some of your workouts that in general, you're not a high mileage guy. And so what does that mean to you? I'm not a high mileage. How many miles are you doing and things like that to prepare for marathon, 50K, or whatever?
Yeah. And so that's for me as coaching myself as an athlete. So I get that sometimes. It's like, oh, Cal's not a high mileage athlete, therefore he's not a high mileage coach. And I have some athletes that are actually Sarah Rayborn. She just won the Dallas 50K a couple of weeks ago. She's consistently running between 110, 120 miles a week. So that's one of my athletes. So again, just like I'm putting on races for all types, it's like I coach all types, and they all have their own specific individual needs and requirements for training. But for myself, just between the amount of time that I dedicate to it each day and what I believe in for recovery, I like 30 to 50 miles a week probably is a pretty good average. If I'm really putting in race specific work, it'll get above 50 and more closer to 70. And last year, I had like maybe 1 week where I was over 100, but very seldom. I can count on one hand still in my entire career that I've been over 100 miles for a week. Yeah.
I would feel like, for me, I know a lot of people that love to do the high mileage, but once I start hitting 50 to 60 miles a week, my body starts breaking down. And I'm like, all right, my sweet spot is more like 30 to 40-ish, Yeah. And that's all I'm going to do.
And if you feel good at that, then do that. If you want to be a better runner, you need to run, and definitely if someone came to me with a really specific goal, or for myself, if I really knew I had to go after something, then yeah, the training starts to take shape more towards that, and it would just be more running, really. But yeah, I love my rest days. Like I have no problems, no like anxiety about missing a day. And I think it's important people know that, yeah, even the best are taking those down days or down weeks and taking time off after big races. It's easy to get in that trap of just keep the fitness going. I got this fit and I don't want to lose it. You're not going to lose it. You'll be fine. You'll actually gain more from taking those down times and recovering.
I love that you said that. I love it. I think you've been doing this for a long time from a coaching standpoint. And you've been doing the running. So what else are you into? I'm sure you've got some other, like your social media is pretty happening. Get this great website. You've got a couple of jobs. What else do you do? I'm interested.
I love flying, and very specifically hang gliding and paragliding. So no motor, just somehow getting in the air, whether that's flying off a ridge, a mountain, or getting towed up with these winches that we have. But getting into the air and then trying to find lift and stay up for as long as possible. Thermaling up under a big puffy cloud and trying to fly for as far as possible. That's another.
What do you do that at?
Around here, it's obviously all flat, but go down to an airport and get towed up for the hang gliding, or get behind the redneck option is behind somebody's truck and they tow you out on a winch and just find a way into the air. That's something else I just grew up around, and we actually live at an airport now, which is cool. We live at a fly-in community, and it allows us to host the business here on the property and in a warehouse, which is a hangar. So serving a dual purpose there. Yeah, it's just a super unique life. And pretty much any week I could wander over to somebody else's hangar and put out a thumb and hitch a lift in some cool plane and go for a ride. That's on the list this year. Get the private pilot's license along with my wife. And yeah, we're gonna be sharing that journey as we go.
That's pretty awesome. So is your wife involved in the business, I assume, or?
Very, yeah. She just dove in head first. She's got a very different brain than I do. It's loves finances, loves data analysis, loves processes and procedure. And so a very good compliment to the operations guy here. Yeah.
To the operations guy.
Yeah. The one that likes to be dirty and on the ground. Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
But yeah, she's run 100 miles. She's done quite a few races herself from road and trail, and she understands the sport. And yeah, so really great to have her. And yeah, just very talented herself, and just being able to see the business work for what it needs.
Yeah, I heard a recent, I don't know if it's a podcast, but that the two of you guys do a podcast together, or?
Yeah, we decided to finally launch it this year. We've been talking about it for a while, and it shares the same name as my Instagram handle, the Neff Pace. So this was like the pace of our life and what we're up to with this, so many facets of what we're doing between aviation and running and everything in between, and raising the kids, and
it's pretty cool.
Traveling around and racing.
Now you're bringing in a podcast, so doing a lot of stuff. I think that's crazy, man. You're into 1,000 different things. So interesting. I love it. What's next?
Yeah, heading off to Black Canyon, 100K. And I need a bit of a redemption there. My wife, Rachel, actually paced me in the final 12 miles, which I was like, no offense, but if that happens again, it's not a good day for me.
Yeah. No,
she was offended. But so yeah, it's funny because I had this road marathon to prepare for, and obviously it's very specific, especially to the pace of running basically 5:20 a mile on the road. And now I have to switch gears, and if I was to run a course record at Black Canyon, it's basically 7:20 a mile, so 2 minutes a mile slower for many more hours, but on very different terrain. But I was using Houston as a training round for that. I didn't kill myself there, so came out unscathed and put down a ton of nutrition. I was able to I was 130 grams an hour of carbohydrates.
Wow. Is that rare for you, or?
I've always been a pretty iron stomach, and I think a lot of that's attributed to just being a dad and have dinner with the family and then get on a treadmill pretty soon after once they're down for bed, and just been doing that for so many years. It doesn't matter if I have a steak and potatoes or whatever in my stomach, I can still go for a good run.
Chili, cheese dog, whatever.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some limits.
Maybe that's the limit.
We don't try those on race day. That's the main thing.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so just trying to switch gears, and obviously golden ticket is the big chase right now for the trail world, is to get into Western States. This is what did I just write? I was just reviewing 12th year with Ultra. So I've been sponsored by Ultra Running, and yeah, they're really want as many of their athletes on the start line in Western States. And so I'm making that push with them. And if Black Canyon doesn't go well, my backup is going to the Canyons 100K, which is another golden ticket race. And yeah, I just have to find these races that slot in between our own events that we're putting on and everything else that's happening. So we'll see. It's like weird to set up a race schedule that's dependent on coming top 3 to get into the next thing. So we'll see what the rest of the year looks like after States, but we'll be up there anyway. Being in the Reno Tahoe area for the summer is our favorite thing to do. So that's where you'll find us.
Are you guys interested in ever becoming, and maybe one of your races has that, at least qualifying for Western States or anything like that?
Yeah, so the Brazos Bend 100 is a big qualifier.
That's right.
We have a lot of people get in through that one. People are always asking about Ultra Trail de Mont Blanc, the UTMB, Stone index points and things like that. So we submit our results there as well for people to get into that. So yeah, Big Dog's Backyard is another big qualifier one. So getting like the bronze and the silver coins for Laz's events in the Backyard Ultra world. Yeah, we're a stepping stone to a number of events along the way.
Is this the first time that you've really tried to get into Western States?
See, I did a 125K race in Canada, the Canadian Death Race in 2000, and I'm trying to remember now, 13.
Okay.
And that was a qualifier. So I had a ticket and put my name in the lotto. And of course, even back then when it wasn't as crazy, pretty low chances. And then I got a ticket last year at Black Canyon, just a regular draw entry. Been in the draw a few times.
Got it.
Yeah, still chasing the golden ticket way.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean,
but I've paced there 3 times at Western States.
Okay.
Been there as crew and pacer. Definitely know the course quite a bit now from being out there.
Hopefully it's time to do it. I'll be watching. That'll be fun to see.
Yeah.
It all depends who shows. Do you know who's going to show up?
Yeah. I made the mistake, or maybe a good call, of looking at the field today, going through the entries for Black Canyon, and it's stacked. Anyone's going, and it's just incredible. It really is. Describe it as basically like NCAA 10K cross country regional meet for 100 kilometers for 10 times the distance. It just goes out like crazy, and you just got to hold on tight.
I think Jim Walmsley will try to go for, or is he already good?
He would be in from States this past year. I've heard rumors that we have Killian coming back.
Really?
To States, so I think he's in. Yeah, I'm already looking forward to States, even just as a spectator, as a fan of the sport.
I love it, man. Look, I always think, I've always been a big fan of Walmsley. Killian Jornet's been great to see. I always think he's getting a little older, but he's still killing.
He wants one last run on it before he calls it, I think.
Okay, all right.
We're seeing, I think we saw Kipchoge's coming back for London. That's big news lately. We're excited to see what he does. He needs a redemption from past couple of performances there.
I kind of wonder if he'll ever go back to Boston and try again.
It's got to. Yeah, absolutely.
I hope so.
Yeah, that's right. Boston was that first glimpse we saw of humanity.
Look, everybody has a bad race, even Kipchoge.
That's the thing. Yeah.
We saw it for once. But cool, man. Is there some things I should have asked that I just didn't ask?
I'm just happy shooting running here. As much as wondering what's in the DFW area that I haven't done that is worth checking out. What would you recommend?
Like the 2 biggest races, one is you've already done the Dallas, okay, and also the Cowtown. So that's coming up here in February. They have some cool 5K races and K and maybe even half marathons. But other than that, man, that's what we have.
Yeah.
Those are the 2 big ones.
I really enjoyed it just north of you, my first visit recently to Mount Scott in Oklahoma.
Really? Not heard of that.
Yeah, it's just this really cool spiral road that went to the peak of a mountain, a pretty sizable one. Maybe only took 20 or so minutes to get to the top, but it was a good run, like just solid grade the whole way. I know Camille Herron's kind of trained there quite a bit for her comrade stuff, and I really enjoyed my time going up just north of you guys in that area, but definitely need to explore that North Texas a little bit more.
Yeah, man, you should think about a race or something, putting something out here at some point. I know it's a drive though, so I don't know if you like to do that. It's a pain, sure.
Always driving. Yeah, so for me, like switching gears now, really and trying to get on trail and as specific to Black Canyon as possible. So yeah, this weekend we'll be driving out, trying to find some good single track. We'll likely be more in the Fredericksburg area, so Enchanted Rock in hill country, just trying to get geared up for a long time on the trail. And then it'll also switch gears again, depending on what's next.
What's any big road races at the end of the year that you're thinking about, or not really?
Depending like how Black Canyon would go and then canyons, there's one I've always wanted to do called the Strolling Gym, and it's actually another one of Laz's races. It's a 40-miler in Tennessee on the roads, hilly, and it's got a really iconic and historic presence there of what people have run. Walmsley's been there, and definitely some of the legends of our sport. So it's cool to go to those test pieces, I would call them.
Yeah.
Comrades is, and I think that's originally what you saw. I was answering somebody's question online in the DFW kind of forum there that got into Comrades, which is amazing. If I only had to do one race a year, it probably would be Comrades. If I could if I only had to do one ever, it's such an incredible experience. There's a lot of people. It's 20, 30,000 people now.
Yeah.
Running point to point like a Boston, very hilly, 6,000 feet of climbing or descending, depending which way you go each year.
Yeah.
And probably like one of the most competitive fields. And you'll have 200 guys running darn near sub-6 pace for the first 2 hours.
I think that's doable for you.
Yeah, so I've been up there. Definitely top 10 there would be a stretch lifetime goal that I would want to achieve. I've been close, been under 6 hours for their, what was it, 50-something miles. Yeah, it definitely need to get back there and keep racking up the number of finishes there. Get to that 10-time finisher would be nice.
My wife, she was accepted to go there, and then COVID hit, got pushed. And then she just never went.
It's a long way to go, that's for sure. It's a hard place to get to, and if you're going, you might as well spend some good chunk of time there.
We were going to spend 2 or 3 weeks there because
you really have to.
It takes 3 days to get there.
Yeah. I had a really great trip my last time there 2 years ago. So I ran Comrades on the Sunday, could barely walk on Monday. The down just destroys you. Yeah. It's 6,000 feet of descent, and a large majority of that in the final marathon on highway coming into Durban on the down year. The up year doesn't beat you up hardly as much at all, even though you still have 4,000 feet of descent in that. It's just definitely a different beast. But yeah, I could not do stairs. I was getting on an airplane on the Monday and getting on a flight to go to climb Kilimanjaro. So I ended up...
Serious?
I was like, this is either the best or the worst idea I've ever had. But it actually was nice for the acclimatization. So you really don't want to rush altitude, especially getting up above 10, 12, 15, 16, 18,000 feet that you get on Kilimanjaro. So you really got to pace yourself. Having run Comrades just 3 days earlier from starting the climb was actually perfect for me.
Kind of a junkie for these endurance things and just running fast. Adventure. I love it. I think it's awesome. And look, you're doing 2 jobs that allows you to give back in a way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, having fun with it and then trying to combine it, just like I combine being a dad and running with the strollers. But there's this whole other new niche sports. I was just reading about a new one today. What do they call it? It's like ski-mo, so the ski mountaineering, but now they have, I think it's fly-mo or something. So basically you're racing trail running to the top of a peak with really light flying gear, then pulling it out of your bag and paragliding or speedwing down to the bottom.
Ooh, that sounds fun.
So there's these events that are happening. I don't think I'll ever get the wife approval, but the Red Bull X Alps in Europe is a huge hike and fly race that's been going on for a number of years. That would be a dream to do something like that.
One of the things that is very interesting to me is, so I get to go up. I have a friend that lives in a place called Annecy, France. So it's on the border of France and Switzerland. And it's the most beautiful place, but lots of people are doing paragliding and things like that. And it's just fun to watch. Like, I'll be up at the top of the mountain. They're just running and going off the mountain. Yeah. I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah. And that's why I'm glad you said you're into a lot of, what'd you say, like endurance and adventure. You never said that I was into a lot of adrenaline, and that's the truth. Like none of what I do, I find is like a adrenaline rush the way a lot of people mistake it for. Even the flying is quite peaceful, like you were just describing. So I just love the human powered, human propelled, connected with nature and being natural.
You've got one of the most interesting lives that I know. I love it. You've been running for a long time. You have couple of businesses in that. Your wife is a runner and she's in the business, and your kids are probably taking after. Wow, I love it. It sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks. It's great to get some opportunity to share it with people, and yeah, they can always connect with me after if they're interested in any little aspect of that and how I can share that going forward. But yeah, always feel free to reach out, come out to some of our races, and see you online.
You definitely see me online, and a lot of folks from Dallas-Fort Worth run your races. So I'll definitely push that into our show notes and everything else. So Cal, thanks so much. Yeah. This has been really a pleasure to have you on, and thanks for coming on.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. We'll finally be a little bit closer to you now. We got Mission Tejas coming back. It's a race further north, more central to us. So
yeah, hopefully in the past.
Yeah, that's a great one. DFW area can easily make their way down to Mission Tejas. We're back there in November. So really looking forward to being closer to the north again.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I might take a look and come. So, all right. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to another DFW Running Talk. I'm Chris Detzel, and please don't forget to rate and review. It's so important. Cal, thank you so much.
Thank you.